You're watching The Nation at 9. Two senior leaders of the Congress party today attacked directly the personage of the Prime Minister. Words were used with shocking consequences and implications. Loose words that seem to suggest that the discourse in our country is plummeting every minute. When confronted, the Congress party defended their two senior leaders, saying that it was the Prime Minister who set the ball rolling in Canada. The two leaders themselves have tried to defend what they have said. Some people are not happy, principally those in the Bharatiya Janata Party and cutting across some other opposition parties, saying that to make the Prime Minister or target the Prime Minister with these vile words repudiates everything that perhaps should have been done to try and engage in a debate that would have made the Prime Minister perhaps contrite about his own statements abroad. That's fundamentally where this debate lies. Did the Congress cross the line and hand the moral advantage back to the BJP? Here's the story, and we'll come out and we'll debate this.
From specifically or any abusive remark, we have done so repeatedly. I don't think anybody has personally abused the Prime Minister. Yes, what has been said is that his philosophy, his thinking,
he was called Hitler today.
Is deplorable.
Hitler by Digvijay Singh in the same breath as he called Masrat Alam Sahib.
No, let me be clear.
He was called Hitler in the same.
It's a storm in the teacup. He was saying Jilani Sahib and Masrat Alam Sahib. That hardly means honorific for Masrat Alam. I have just now said that Masrat Alam should be used the most horrible words for what he does against India. Now you're coming to the Prime Minister. Mr. Digvijay Singh never compared the Prime Minister to Hitler. He said at one time Churchill had reversed his words about Hitler. So it's not the same thing as comparing the Prime Minister to Hitler.
The context is the same.
And if he has compared him, the Congress party is not supporting that. The Congress party has never supported those words.
Well, sir,
let me be clear. He's a very senior leader. We don't support. Let me answer.
The point is, sir, you lose the moral high ground.
BJP that the whole of India is cheapened.
I'll ask them that question.
The Prime Minister's office is cheapened.
We'll ask them that question by you, but I want you to not agree that the Congress party would lose the moral high ground. 1 second, I'm just coming. Would the Congress party not have lost the moral high ground by lowering its standards of debate, sir, by using terminology such as this? Whatever the provocation, would you not concede that?
I am making it clear that the Congress party never supports the calling or describing of the Prime Minister himself as Hitler.
I'm glad you set the record straight.
I'm making it clear to you.
I'm glad you set the record straight.
I don't think
Mr. Kohli,
Mr. Sharma has said anything, and I don't think Mr. Digvijay Singh intends to. The BJP can distort it to cover up what the Prime Minister said.
Mr. Kohli wants to respond.
The Prime Minister said something officially as the Prime Minister of India.
Mr. Kohli wants to respond.
I mean, he's my Prime Minister also.
Okay, let him respond.
Mr. Kohli's Prime Minister also. He's not a BJP Prime Minister.
Let him respond, sir. Let him respond. Mr. Kohli.
Well, I'll plead guilty of one thing certainly. If speaking the truth, which everyone knows is a crime, then I guess we are guilty of the crime. Scam India, ethical deficit, policy paralysis, all of these words were not coined by the BJP. And if Dr. Singhvi would like, we can dig out all the papers, starting from the Washington Post, New York Times, others, who had a lot to write about these issues. So there was no great national secret coming out when 2G took place, Colgate took place, and the fact that there was a lack of investment interest in India, and Indians were looking to invest abroad. Now that's the factual thing. Second is the Honorable Prime Minister was speaking to a primarily Indian audience. They were people of Indian origin primarily, and he has addressed them in the past too. He was speaking in Hindi. I don't recall that speech being exactly in English in a bilateral format. So to run down the country by speaking the truth, I don't agree with that point. It's a weak point. It's only, I think, probably Dr. Singhvi is emphasizing it because he has no defense for the fact that one leader of the Congress party, who's Mr. Digvijay Singh, is considered to be the political guru of Rahul Gandhi ji. So therefore, he called him Hitler. The same gentleman calls Osama bin Laden Osama ji, Masarat Alam as Masarat ji, and he goes on to call Hafiz Saeed as Hafiz Saeed Saab and Masarat Alam Saab. There's no answer for that. Now that probably is the thinking that we are seeing. On the other hand, Mr. Patel, Ahmed Patel goes out and calls the Prime Minister Duryodhan. If they were looking and then comes up with a hasty clarification, If they wanted to use the old epics, they could have quoted the Ramayana. Instead of Duryodhan, they could have spoken about Angad. Angad also used to put his foot down in a place and not move on it, as long as he was convinced he was on the right point. So therefore, the Congress is stuck by making the wrong remarks. And now they are trying to find and say every Indian should hang their head in shame. If that is the standard of hanging the head in shame, then I guess Indians would probably prefer the truth to hang their heads in shame rather than remember the scams of the erstwhile UPA and raise their heads in pride.
I have said what I wanted to say. I don't want to repeat it. But let me give you a small test. Let's have the proof of the pudding in the eating. I have straight away clarified that the Congress party does not accept Mr. Digvijay Singh's statement in case he meant that the Prime Minister is Hitler, which he did not in fact mean if you see his sentence. Is Mr. Navin Kohli prepared to say the same thing, that the BJP distances itself from the Prime Minister's remark on foreign soil that India is scam India prior to May 26th? Let's have a test right now.
No, actually I will, for Dr. Singhvi's benefit, I'll be happy to reiterate it, that India was definitely scam India, there's no doubt, and it's not something coined by the BJP. It was coined by perhaps a large majority of Indians and a fairly significant part of people outside the country too. With regard to Mr. Digvijay Singh, I'd like to know what is the stand on Osama ji, Masarat ji, and also Hafiz Saeed Saab. So, I mean, Dr. Singhvi, since he's in a mood to clarify and take the party stand, it would be good to know that.
I think Mr. Kohli has just validated the exact point which I wanted to test before you. Now, if he's going to rely on the G's, I think this is absolutely, making it facetious and stretching it beyond the point, because the sentence, if you see clearly, he was saying Jilani ji, and he may have said Masarat ji. There is no question.
Not
when
me.
I have just
Masarat
criticized and I've said.
No, he said Saab. He said Saab.
Masarat Sahib. I heard that. I heard that.
Sahib.
I don't think Gilani Sahib and Masarat Sahib is at all intent, because I have just told you that the most
disregard for the Prime Minister. Where does this come from? Dr. Singhvi, where does this come from?
Insulting words. Look. I think this G or Sahib part is a non-issue completely. They are clutching at straws. I come back to my point about the Hitler and the scam. You have my answer.
Well, sir, if you're talking about
validated the point
if you're talking about taking this on international soil and the image of India, then the Congress party is also responded by
just applied his own test onto himself. Rather eloquently, I must say.
One second. Then you've internationalized a comment. One second, sir. Why is the Congress party, therefore, led by Mr. Digvijay Singh, challenging the assertions of President Obama? This is what President Obama said about Mr. Modi. He likened him.
Do you know?
No, 1 second. Sir, please let me finish. This is what Digvijay Singh said in response. Even Winston Churchill had to take back his words when he praised Adolf Hitler. The context is clear. The reference is clear.
But I have just...
Now, I want to ask you...
But I have just told you. You are asking the same question.
If the Prime Minister, according to the Congress, is guilty of internationalizing India's
falls flat on this very test.
And besmirching its image.
I have said that if Mr. Digvijay Singh remotely intended, let me complete please, if Mr. Digvijay Singh remotely intended to equate Prime Minister Modi with Mr. Hitler, which I am not saying, then I disown and distance myself. Is Mr. Kohli prepared as the BJP to distance from the Prime Minister's remark, who ignores 10 years of average 8.5% growth, 10 years of the lowest growth by us being higher than the highest growth rate by them. So much work being done, describing everything prior to May, when Mr. Modi was born as the Prime Minister of India, as scam India. Is he prepared to say that that was wrong, recalled and inappropriate? I repeat that test. Don't digress, don't divert, don't go into G's and Sahibs. Please answer that question. The first time he answered, he validated my point. Now let us have a second attempt.
I'll answer this. Yes. So you can ask as many times, sir, with pleasure. Let me just point out, Dr. Singhvi is trying to make a case. It's nice of him to say that the party disowns itself, but they haven't still disowned themselves from Osama ji. They are scared to take anything involving terrorists. I don't know why. Because the Congress should be one of the parties that would... we've lost 2 prime ministers to terrorism. Let's come to the scam thing. as far as the scam is, if speaking the truth, I'm not going to speak a lie just now by saying that there was no scam India. There was a scam India. So if you go out there and speak the truth, that's against us. That's exactly what the Prime Minister did. Was 2G a reality or not? Was Colgate a reality or not? Was the Westland helicopter deal a reality or not? Tatra Trucks, Devas, Antrix. Now, these were all there in public knowledge. Dr. Singhvi is saying, no, these weren't scams. These were the gems of India. Now, what model they were, the gems, I really can't buy that.
Okay, 1 second. I want to bring in Mr. Mohandas Pai. 1 second. Dr. Singhvi,
so
1 second.
To May
we have
20,
others on the show. 1 second,
prior
sir.
to May,
I want
India
to ask,
was only known as Scam India.
No, okay, 1 second.
That's the point
look,
just made.
I think
India
the Congress is also narrow
only.
focusing.
Dr. Singhvi.
No, 1 second. Let me just bring in
we
Mr.
are trying
Pai.
to quibble over words.
Okay,
Devas,
1 second.
the
Semantics.
case is closed.
Okay, 1 second. I want to bring in Mr. Pai. Mr. Pai, you've been associated with the corporate sector in a sunrise industry like IT. You are not someone who is completely at sea when it comes to analyzing A, investor confidence, and B, the international business environment. And I want to ask you, sir, did India pay a price? Did India pay a genuine price for the scams that were unraveled in the 10 years of the UPA, or did the business sentiment depress on its own? I want to ask you, sir. And did these scams not have the concomitant effect of freezing or paralyzing government, as The Economist, which is in front of me, and 2 other leading international papers have reported?
You see, UPA one was pretty good. I think they did a great job.